We're doing it live. 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 Okay, so today's topic is the riots in Minnesota. And the question that I have, oh, my Christmas tree's still up. Yes, my Christmas trees, both of my Christmas trees are up. I have a tree in this room and I got a tree in the other room, and they're both up. And I'm really enjoying my Christmas trees. I didn't put my Christmas tree up until like I think on Christmas Day was the day that I put my Christmas trees up, both of them, and they're still up. And everyone else took their Christmas trees down like the next week, and mine just went up, and they're doing great. So I love my Christmas trees. But it is January 25th according to the commercial calendar. And anyway, so the topic today is why does Antifa get to? So the Congress passes laws, but then Antifa just goes in the street and yells, and then the laws don't get enforced. Is that what we're supposed to do? That's the system of government we're supposed to have. So this is why American government is so stupid, is because we have a Congress, right? And the Congress is supposed to make the laws. And then the Congress, so you have the congressmen make the laws, and then they take it up to the next level of the House, whatever you call it. Is it called the whole Congress? And then you've got the Senate and the Congress. Okay. Congress makes the laws, then they send it to the Senate, which is part of the Congress, right? The lawmaking body. And then the Senate reviews those laws, and they debate them, and then they pass those laws. And then those laws get signed into law by the executive branch, which is the president of the United States, and his job is to enforce the law. So just so you know, if you're from some foreign country and you come over here to America and you're like, I don't like the laws, blah 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 blah. Well, see, you're fucking everything up. See, you're the problem. You're the problem, and Antifa's the problem. Because why do we have a government in Washington, D.C. that we elect, we spend all this money on, and they have them out there to represent us, and then they come up with the laws, and then we elect a president, and he signs the laws that the Congress makes, he signs those into law, and then it's his job to enforce those laws. If Antifa can just go in the street and yell, and then then our laws are vetoed, so we don't get to have our laws enforced because Antifa yells. See, this is the system of government that's been put in place by the banking cartels. The banking cartels. And you're like, but Trump's rich and he's associated with. Okay, I know all that. But you have to understand is that the people that run Minnesota, for instance, let's just take Minnesota since that's where a lot of the chaos is right now. It's run by a guy named Tim Walz, okay, Governor Tim Walz, who has been accused by the assassin who killed two lawmakers last year, Vance Butler, the guy who was arrested and is in custody right now and is being held in prison right now. He's been charged with, I don't know exactly what he's been charged with, but he's the guy that killed two state lawmakers in Minnesota. He has a handwritten confession saying that Tim Walz asked him to carry out the hit, that Tim Walz asked him to kill. So that's Tim Walz, the governor. Now, Tim Walz's district attorney is Keith Ellison, who's a Muslim. Keith Ellison, who's a Muslim, is the district attorney. So that crime's not being investigated by that group. They haven't arrested Tim Walz. And so the FBI is also investigating it. And that's why we have, see, what I just told you about Vance Butler writing that in his handwriting and giving that to the FBI, that was reported in Yahoo News and all the other news outlets with images of the confession. That's who runs Minnesota. And then the district attorney is a Muslim. And the mayor of Minnesota is a Jewish sodomite named Jacob Fry. He's a Jewish Zionist sodomite. And their plan is to do whatever they want. And it doesn't matter. They don't care what the Congress says unless they like it. If the Congress does what they like, then fine. If the Congress doesn't do what they like, they don't submit to the law. So that's not our system of government. They see this whole group in Minnesota with the Antifa and Tim Walz and Jacob Free and the Muslims and the Somalians and Keith Ellison. They don't they want to be able to just live outside the law. And so these people keep getting so what's happening is Tim Walz and his faction of the government is inciting people to riot. And then they're going out and getting shot. They think that they can go out there and attack federal officers, and then they get shot. Now, notice how it's not people like me who are, and not just white people, but it's not white Americans, except for the lesbian Renee Good, right? She was a lesbian. She's a woman. She's a lesbian. She's like out there fighting because these are the kind of people that get brainwashed into this. It's like okay, let me explain something to you. You don't see like black people out there fighting federal agents over letting Muslims come here from Somalia or other illegal immigrants because they don't give a shit. Some of them that are part of the Democratic machine do. They'll be out there fighting it, but you're not going to find. I don't think. I really would doubt you're going to see like African American men running out there to defend illegal immigrants and getting shot by federal agents. I don't see that happening. Now, look who's getting shot by federal agents. A lesbian who thinks that she can just go out there and attack the federal police. Or this other guy, he's like a male nurse. Okay, he's like an immigrant male nurse. He thinks he can go out there and attack the police. He's like an immigrant. Dude, none of this makes sense. Dude, you can't do that. These people are all hyped up on some weird ideology. And this is all fomented by people like Tim Walz and Jacob Free and Keith Ellison and this whole Muslim group. See, now, if you're like, dude, look, do you want to live in a third world toilet? Because that's how it's going to be if you just let people violate the law and don't have to live by the law. It's just going to be like a third world shithole, which it already is. I mean, much of all the big cities that are run by this group of people is already like that. It's like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit. They're all just ruined. They're just piles of shit because they're run by these people. So the question is, if we have a government, okay, we elect. I thought you cared about democracy. Okay, we have a government. We elect representatives. Supposedly, there's a lot of money involved, but they go to Congress and they're supposed to represent us, and then they come up with laws, and they wrote all these laws about migration and who can be in the country and who can't be in the country, right? And it's the job of the executive branch of the government to enforce those laws. That's Donald Trump's job. He's literally doing his job. ICE is literally doing the job that they're supposed to do according to the Constitution. See, somebody has to enforce the laws. But it's not that just Congress makes the laws and everyone follows them. No, Congress makes the laws, and if you don't follow them, it's literally Donald Trump's job to enforce those laws. And how does the federal government or any police agency enforce laws? How do they do that? They do it with guns, and they do it with batons, and they do it with handcuffs, and they do it with tasers, and they do it with locking you in a cell in prison and torturing you. And it's always been that way. It's nothing new. That's the whole police system. Now, if it were up to me, I'd make it a little more humane. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why the police have guns is because if you don't comply with the law, they can shoot you, particularly if you're threatening them. You see, the police have guns so they can shoot you if you attack them as they're trying to enforce the law. The role of the police department is to enforce the law. That's their job. That's called a government. You see, now you could say, well, I'm against government and everyone. Okay, then there's just going to be everyone can kill anybody they want. And if you want to go that route, maybe we can do that. But that's not the way it is right now. Okay, the way it is, we've said we're going to have laws that everybody has to follow, and then the police are going to be given a privilege to use force to enforce the law, which is what they're doing. So what's the problem? The problem is there's certain people that don't like the laws. But see, here's the problem. The people that are in the streets yelling because they don't like the laws, they don't have the votes to change the laws. So because they can't change the laws because they can't get enough votes to change the law, they think they can just go out, yell, and attack the police and veto the laws by yelling. Okay, you can go run out in the street and attack police, but the police have guns and they're going to shoot you, and they're already shooting you. And why would they stop when their whole job is to be there to enforce the law? Why would they stop shooting you if you keep attacking them and you keep attacking them? Why would they stop shooting you? It's their job is to do this. Their job is to shoot you if you attack them while they're enforcing the law. So what I'm saying is, don't attack the police who, if they're legally enforcing the law. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, like, we have what's called immigration laws, and those are enforced by the Immigration Customs Enforcement Officer, and they have a gun. So you know what I mean? Like, so what I'm saying is, you think that Antifa can just go out in the street and yell and blow whistles and yell at the police, and then the government dissolves? That's not how this is working. That's not going to work. And if that was how America worked, then America's a piece of shit, because we need a government that actually enforces the laws. Aside from the fact that we never even wanted Somalian people to come here to begin with, they were forced on us, and that's a whole different story. That's the whole thing that you're not allowed to talk about, because the Anti-Defamation League calls you a racist if you say if there's a plan, which there is, which they brag about every day, how they're going to replace the white populations in America and Europe. So that's been the plan for a long time, and they've been doing it nonstop the whole time. So the whole plan is racist. But then once they get here, now you're not allowed to enforce the law. So they brought them here, and now they're just changing. They're saying the government doesn't matter. You see, law enforcement. See, there's all the laws that you made and over the last 100 years. Those don't mean anything because we brought these people in here now, and they can just do whatever they want. It's like, this is stupid, dude. So let me tell you this: you think this is good? If you're like, yeah, that's great, we should do that. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to lose, because who's going to fight the Russians? Who's going to fight the Chinese for you? Nobody. You're already losing to the Russians, and you're already losing to the Chinese, and you're already losing to the Iranians that have hypersonic missiles. So you're already losing. And your leaders, the Jewish leaders who set this up, have admitted that they're losing. They're admitting that they lost. Henry Kissinger admitted that bringing all these people here into Europe and America was a dumb idea, and it failed. Okay? And there was another person that admitted it recently too. It's a stupid idea. The whole idea, the entire program for the last 100 years of wiping out the American people and the European people was a complete disaster. Complete disaster. Nothing is better because of it. Everything has only gotten worse. Everything has only gotten worse. You know who started saying this the first? Before anybody, before Tucker and all these people? It was me. It was me, and it was Andrew Anglin and the other people at the Daily Stormer. That's who was saying it first. We're the ones that told everybody about the Clarity Plan. We're the ones that said the whole plan is to kill us all off and destroy the country. And it was. And they're all admitting it now. They're all admitting it now. Tucker's admitting it. And he's very milquetoast, but he's admitting it. He's admitting it. Everyone's admitting it. It's common knowledge now. But it wasn't when I started doing this. And I didn't care what anyone thought of me or said about me. I'd say whatever I thought was true, because I followed the logos. I worship the logos. I'm not going to get into that too much right on this video, because I don't want to make a long video. I want to make a separate video called I'm making a separate video on the logos and how how the logos is your guide. The truth, the logos is your guide. The logos is your pastor. Logos is your king. Logos is your guide. Logos is the master. Logos, the truth of Theos that dwells within your soul. That is your guide. That is your master. So anyway, the Antifa will keep attacking. They're insane. Most of them are hardcore drug addicts and perverts, sodomites. They're sodomites, they're perverts, they are drug addicts. And then those are the people, particularly the white ones, that are allied with the Muslims, with the Jewish mafia. That's how it works. That's like the cabal. It's the Muslims who are not drug addicts and sodomites. They're just over here they're like a colonizing group, working with the Jewish mafia, working with Tim Waltz and the unions that are all backed by the Vatican, the Jewish mafia, the different Muslim groups. And what they do is they have the Antifa homosexuals, mostly homosexuals like Renee Good and these other people, men and women homosexuals, that are deranged and that they're out there fighting white people for Somalians and Jews and Vatican dope peddlers that run giant pharmaceutical machines that sponsor the unions and it's a big machine. But they don't care about your representation. And ultimately, I know I talk often about how I actually want to see the U.S. dissolve because it's not a government by and for white people, which is what America originally was. And sometimes that sounds scary, but just remember this: it's not scary because what we want is a Christian government, and by Christ I mean the logos, not a story, but the actual logos, which is Christ. See, if you have that. You have Europeans and European civilization and following the logos, which is Christ. That's the eternal Christ before anyone ever wrote a book or made up a story or thought up an allegory or used symbolism. But the logos, which is Christ, and the European people, that our society to be perfect. And these other races, like I was talking about, the Black African Americans, you don't see them out there. I mean, you might see a few of them. There are some that are part of the Democrat Union machine. But I don't think they're going to be out there getting shot in the face for Somalian migrants and LGBT and you know what I mean? They're not. So, so anyway, ultimately, it's not scary when you think of it in those terms. European Christian civilization. That's what we want. We don't want Islam. We don't want sodomites running everything. We don't want to be run by Jewish mafia and sodomy and Somalians and Muslims and Mecca. Like even Donald Trump. Donald Trump's allied with Mecca and he's allied with the Jewish mafia. We don't want any of that. But that doesn't mean we don't want our laws enforced. See, we want the laws enforced and the immigration laws. We want those enforced. And we will that is key. That is so important. So we're not gonna move on that one. You know, when it comes to Donald Trump protecting the wrong people or allied with the wrong people, yeah, we'll criticize that. But we want our laws enforced when it comes to immigration. So anyway, have a good night.